Hi and welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about my 5 favorite mammals that I like to take pictures of. So come along and enjoy this adventure. Well, here in North Carolina we have a large number of mammals, over 100 species of mammals. The problem that you run into is most of those mammals are the size of rodents or maybe the size of a house cat, like a raccoon or something like that. So they're not very easy to photograph. That and the fact that they're almost entirely nocturnal, and these animals are key prey animals for other animals. So that makes them very skittish and very hard to take pictures of. But if you're in the right situation, you can take really good pictures of animals that normally be very skittish. An example would be the whitetail deer. This is my number 5 or 5th favorite mammal to take pictures of. Whitetail deer are heavily hunted here in North Carolina. Hundreds of thousands of deer are taken every year by hunters, and even more are killed by cars. So deer see human beings as a direct threat to their lives. There is an exception to this though. Right here we have Durham, Raleigh, and Greensboro, very large cities which have very large populations of people. They also have parks in them that are great habitat for white-tailed deer. So if you go to these parks early in the morning or just before sunset, usually you can see deer and be able to take pictures of them. But the best time to take pictures of white-tailed deer is during the rut, which is late October through November and into part of December. In these parks here, where they normally aren't afraid of human beings, you can get really close to them, and during the rut, the bucks will be moving around during these light hours. You'll be able to see them and be able to photograph them. And because they don't see you as a threat, they just go about their life and doing that. So white-tailed deer is my 5th favorite animal to photograph, 5th favorite mammal to photograph in North Carolina. You know, I hate this chair. Number 4 is Spanish mustangs. Spanish mustangs were introduced by the Spanish in the 16th, 17th, and 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries. These animals were released onto the Outer Banks from Maryland all the way down to Georgia. The Spanish would come by, capture the animals, use them for their cavalry. And to this day, these animals are still on these Outer Banks. They are relatively easy animals to take pictures of. Here in North Carolina, you have to take a ferry out to the island to photograph these animals. But the great thing about it is the Park Service runs a ferry that goes out to Shackelford and Cape Lookout. Shackelford's one with the horses on it. This is probably the best place for you to photograph ponies. The other great thing about Shackelford is that you are allowed to camp out there. So if you want to go out there Friday night, stay there Saturday, and then come off the island sometime on Sunday, they do it. You have cell phone service out there, so it's a really good place to stay connected but be out in the wild too. If you're interested in taking pictures of these animals, this is a great opportunity. The barrier island is relatively a flat beach, and you can easily move around it, even if you have some physical limitations. So my 4th favorite mammal to photograph are the Spanish monkeys. My number 3rd favorite animal to take pictures of are river otters. These are a very common animal closer to the coastline of North Carolina. My favorite place to photograph river otters is Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge. They got great dirt roads there, and the otters will be in the canals right next to the roads, and they're really easy to find. Usually when I find a raft or a group of otters, what I will do is get out of my car, I will start walking towards the edge of the road, and I'll just stop and wait and see what they do. And eventually what happens is you'll see the otters poke their heads up and see what you're doing. Eventually they will all do that. They will see that you're no threat to them. And as they're doing their thing, you can just be taking pictures of them. It's an incredible animal to take pictures of. An otter grows to about 2.5 feet long, 2.25 feet long, and they can weigh between 18 and 30 pounds. So they are relatively big animals. I mean, they're not like a raccoon or something like that. They're relatively big animals, but they don't care about you as long as you're not a threat to them. And they'll be fishing, they'll be doing their thing, and it's just an incredible opportunity to take care of mammals. That's why otters are my third favorite animal to take pictures of. Well, my second favorite animal to photograph are elk. Were introduced in North Carolina in 2001 in the Smoky Mountain National Park. There were, depending on who you ask, there are between 200 and 400 head of elk that are in this park. But the great thing about going to the Park Service is that they have altered the environment around the Welcome Center to accommodate elk. So if you drive into Smoky Mountain National Park at first light, you will see probably 20-30 head of elk right there next to the road. If you are a little bit more adventurous, you can go on some of the trails and try and take pictures of them up in the mountains of the Smoky Mountains and the Blue Ridge Parkway. But like the whitetail deer, elk go into rut in the wintertime, in the fall. Between October and December, they go into rut. And if you really want to have an exciting time taking pictures of elk, that's the time to go to the Smoky Mountains and photograph them. But if you're on the Blue Ridge Parkway already, head down there first light or just before dark, and you will definitely be able to take some pictures of elk. They're right next to the road. It's really easy to take pictures of them. And I think if you make the effort to get there, like I said, just like 45 minutes after sunrise or an hour before sunset, you will be very happy with what you find. Well, we're down to number one, and the only true predator on our list are black bears. I am just absolutely mad about photographing black bears. Any chance I get to go to, most of the black bears I photograph are, again, Alligator River National Wildlife Refuge on the Outer Banks. It's one of my favorite places to go and photograph animals. Yes, you can find black bears in other areas, but in the springtime, in the fall, Alligator River, I make at least one weekend a year that I focus on photographing bears, and I try to photograph any other time that I'm there. My video about the pollinated woodpecker, which I'll leave a link into here, I actually had a black bear come out to the road when I was photographing it. As soon as I started saying good bear, he kind of ran away. But they are incredible animals to take pictures of. Again, Alligator River has great roads. You can take pictures of these animals right from the road. A little bit more precaution has to be taken. It's not so much that the black bears will look at you as a food source. It is more of the fact that you have all these smells. You have food smells and everything else about you. They have a really good sense of smell. Sometimes they don't realize you're human beings, but what I have found is if you say good bear, good bear, good bear at about that volume, the bears realize that you're human beings and it is not good to be around human beings. So I'm hoping you got something out of this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel because that really helps us in the YouTube world. Become a Patreon supporter. Your support allows us to keep doing this. My name is Leahy. I want to thank you for watching.